and that stuff. And Dolly wants me to put it out now that the Spartan Voices concert that was supposed to be May the 18th is it's not going to happen this year.
Yeah, that's a shame.
So
and I will tell you this, I know it was announced yesterday that school is going to be closed until probably May the 15th or May the 18th is what they're saying, and they're thinking
May 15th.
May 15th, exactly. And they're thinking possibly that there might be a way to try to pick up on the athletic schedule because Trey was in the middle of coaching, middle school Christian baseball, and we were covering on CRN baseball and softball for the Comets, and amongst all the other broadcasts we were doing the TBL. By the way, we were still efforting to connect with David Magley of the Basketball League. We might need to try to call him. Because he might not know how to do this whole thing with putting in the email address. And by the way, the clear, smooth sounds are by our production crew. And thank you to Trey Snyder and myself running the boards. And for everybody, this is a mobile production. We are all home doing this. We are doing this mobile. But because of Bruce Barrett, the technology and the sense that me and Trey and the work we put behind the scenes to try to make the broadcast happen, we try to put these things put together perfectly.
And I'm just happy to be here. I really am. I think this is a fantastic program for our fans. They can listen in. We can get them whatever news we can get them. One of the things that we have to remember about high school athletics, if school's not in, if they cancel a school day, be it snow or whatever it is, and they have an after-school function, they have to cancel that function by the policies, especially here in Johnston County.
Right. We're going to call David because I don't think that he's savvy of what we're trying to do here with this technology. So we're going to go old school. You're going to hear a ringtone here in a few minutes, and we're going to call David Magley of the Basketball League, and we're going to talk to him here. We're a couple of minutes behind our segment, but we are going to try to get in touch with David Magley and talk with him here and talk about the TBL and talk about his season and talk about David Magley coming up next here on the Sports Power Hour. Stand by.
Is that my phone or yours?
We're calling somebody. Stand by. We're calling somebody.
I told everybody at work not to call me after 6.
We're trying to connect to David Magley is what we're trying to do. So
I got you. We're off the air right now.
You reached the United States phone for David Magley. I'm not available to take your...
He said you've reached the United States phone of David Magley. He didn't answer. So, hey, as I always say, strike one, strike two, strike three. We'll try this again and see if we can get him on here, and we'll go from there. If he doesn't answer, I guess we'll try to reschedule him for next week or something. So if he doesn't answer this time, we are going to open up the phone line to our guests where they can call in and talk sports with us. One more time, we're going to try to reach David Magley. Hopefully he answers his U.S. phone.
Yeah, that ringing noise is coming over the podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Hello, Sir David.
Hey, David! 3 times the charm. How are you, buddy? Welcome to the show. It is the Sports Power Hour. Wesley Outland and Bruce Barrett. We were trying to connect with you through our internet link, but unfortunately, we just said let's just call you old school. So, how you doing?
We are great. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir, and I hope that you and Evelyn and the entire family in Indianapolis and the Hoosier State are recovering and recuperating and staying safe with this coronavirus pandemic.
We're doing fantastic.
So, before we start talking about the TBL, which is the basketballleague.net for people that don't know, real quickly, David, talk about how you quickly got on the ball before all of these other sanctioning groups, before the NBA, before the NCAA. You quickly halted the season for the TBL. Did you see this coming before anybody else did? Was you kind of reading the writing on the wall? What made you unable to make the decisions y'all did so fast?
Well, we were hearing anxiety from our teams, and there were some telltale signs, like probably a third to two-thirds of our teams play in everything from high school to college gyms. And in the state of Ohio, they shut down the college gyms. In the state of New York, they were talking about several of Syracuse had shut down, and several of the universities were going to shut down for a time frame that was going to have a major impact on us, because that's where we play our games. So if we can't play our games, and some of our teams are anxious about traveling, that's going to have an impact, because we're kind of an all-in or none-in league. We can't not play games. And when you go to Albany, New York, and there's 2,300, 2,400 fans that have paid tickets to come, teams just can't not show up. This is pro basketball. So that was going to have a major impact on our ability to go forward. So the first thing we did was, Evelyn and I got together and we prayed about it. We talked about it, and then we called a meeting.
Amen.
And we gave all of the owners an opportunity, the team market owners, an opportunity to give their input. What do you all think? And it was unanimous that it was time to make a move. My initial gut was, if we were going to try to do an end of the season champion, we needed to do something immediately. We met on Tuesday. I was prepared on Wednesday or Thursday to start an event, either in Albany or in we settled on Kentucky, because it was the most centrally located, and all the teams were going to come in, and they were going to play in a 4-day tournament, single elimination, and the champion was going to be awarded on Sunday, with no fans that were going to be there. The team market owners thought, well, let's give it a week so we can prepare for it. My concern, which proved to be true, was that we weren't going to get that far, because the very next day, the NBA had the Rudy Gobert cancellation game of Oklahoma City, and then once they recognized they actually had somebody tested positive, they had to move quickly, and rightfully so. They shut it down, and once they shut it down, the NCAA followed pretty quickly, and the whole thing, came to a screeching halt. And again, we got to do what's best for our players, our fans, and everybody in between, because this only ends quickly if we all move as a unit in this country, and I think it will. And I think we're going to come out the other side just fine as a league and as a country and everything else. We're going to get through it.
David,
and it's going to be a good time.
David, I know that there's a lot of people that are hard-pressed to say it's blown out of proportion. There's people with the flu that are getting sick more and dying more than that. The Carolinas, the numbers are rapidly increasing, and we heard Dr. Fauci with the government say that this week would be a spike. It's going to get worse before it gets any better. Indiana, where you're at, it's not good in Indiana right now in the Hoosier State. What do you and the wife do to protect yourself, to protect your family, and to try to live your day-to-day life?
We literally shut down that day. As a family, my wife and I are empty nesters, and the hardest thing is for us to not see our grandchildren, because they're such a big part of who we are. But we don't control who's around our grandchildren or what they do.
Right.
So if they go someplace and they're exposed to something, in our 60s, we got to be smart. So we will. I'm the sugar daddy. I'm going to go get the grandkids food that their parents don't give them. So I'm going to go through Dunkin' Donuts and leave them Dunkin' Donuts on their front porch, so the kids still get something they're not supposed to eat from Grandpa a couple times a week, so the parents can be mad at me. It's perfect. But we don't get to go in. And, today was a perfect example. Our daughter brought, my wife's a great cook, and my daughter brought over some chicken she wanted her to cook for her and the boys. And just being able to look out and see the kids in the car but not go give them a hug around the neck makes my wife, tear up, because we want to be able to be with our grandkids. But, again, it's a short-term sacrifice because, quite frankly, Wesley, the concern is, nobody wants to die, but even beyond that, we don't want to put the pressure on our health system that's not prepared for this. Because if all of a sudden we get 4,000 more people are in the Indianapolis hospitals and something happens to my heart, where am I going to go?
Exactly.
And that's the concern, I think, as a country we have to watch is this thing only gets worse if it's not taken care of. And I think we're responding appropriately, and I think it's going to be over. Just when you look at what South Korea did and China, they got on top of it, and here 7-8 weeks later, they're relatively back to normal and moving that way. And I think we'll get through this as a country, and it's going to be fine.
Bruce Barrett, would you like to ask anything to David Bagley in regards to this subject before we talk about the basketball league as they go into year 4 in 2021?
Well, Coach, first off, good evening to you.
Good evening to you, Bruce.
I want to say this about the program and the team that you built. The quality of basketball that was being played around the league was fantastic. It was just fun to go to, a great family atmosphere, and I think a lot of that is credit to you and the other owners of this league who wanted to bring pure basketball back to the fans. And I just wanted to congratulate you on that. I just thought it was fantastic. From day one that I came to a game, started bringing Dolly. I mean, it was amazing.
Well, I appreciate what you all do with supporting the Raleigh team, and even when the Firebirds weren't playing, I know Wesley, you all would still jump on our sportscaster broadcasts and do other people's games because you knew our players and you followed the brand of ball. I'm glad you all got to go to Albany and see a game where you saw what this could be looking like one day for everybody. And you didn't get to see Jamestown, which is another type of great crowd, good atmosphere that does things differently than Albany does. So Albany is more of an adult type crowd with really good dancers and good music and great food and all of the like, and Jamestown's a little bit more family with cheerleaders and family feels that way with really cool events in between every dead ball. But those are the things, the basketball piece, we have the greatest players in the world that aren't in an NBA product. If they're not in the NBA or the G League, we have a shot at some really great players because our guys are getting great jobs from our league.
For sure.
So if you're not playing in another country making a lot of money, you want to play in this league. And so they recognize that. Now we have to continue to improve the quality of the entertainment value beyond just the on-court play, because the on-court play is incredible. But we want to make certain every team has the same experience that when you go to watch an Albany game or a Jamestown game, and Raleigh's in year 2 and they were doing better and growing in their numbers. And, our venues have to continue to improve and our fan base has to grow. But that's all done with the right product that we put on the floor. So it starts with great players that are in the community, they're active. Again, the STEM education focus that Wade Harris and his group does in Raleigh is second to none in our league. They know specifically how they want to impact and be role models, because when our guys walk in and they walk into your school and you see a 6'10" kid that played at Wake Forest that walks in with a master's degree, what do you hear? I want to tell you how important education is. Wow.
Absolutely.
All of a sudden, our guys have power to impact communities like even parents and teachers don't always have.
So David, where do we go from here? Who's officially is the Dallas Skyline? Is the who is the official champions of the TBL for 2020, or is it just null and void? And where do we press on to prepare for season 4 in 2021?
Well, we have the Indiana team had the best record, the Indiana Express, but we can't crown a champion because there's we had a different number one the last 5 weeks of the season. So
absolutely,
you can't, in all honesty, say without a playoff have a champion. So we won't have a champion for this season, and that's just an asterisk that will be next to our year. And quite frankly, that might be the NBA. That might be several leagues quite a bit bigger than this. I don't know if hockey will be able to get it done. Because, there will have to go into June, July to have a champion in the NBA, which is getting really late. If they do that, they may start their next season later and shorten it just because of what's just done. So I don't know